Welcome to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green, the show where great dentistry meets great business. Listen in each week as we bring you an inspiring person who will share their story, ideas and business techniques to help you create a practice and a life you love. And now introducing your host, Dr. Jesse Green.
Hi everyone, it's Jesse Green here. Welcome back to SavvyDentist.com and to the Savvy Dentist podcast. It's absolutely fantastic to have your company for another episode of the show. Now, this episode is part of our summer series, and during the summer series, what we're doing is we're taking snippets of different episodes of different shows and stitching them together around a particular theme. And the theme for this particular episode is around marketing. So marketing is one of those areas that most dentists know they need to do, but really kind of never quite master, never quite get interested in. And the thing about marketing is a bit like dentistry in the sense that there's certainly some art to it, but there's a lot of science to it as well. And I think a lot of dentists feel that marketing is this dark, black box where it's full of mystery, and it's really not. It's just like any skill. You can learn it, you can master it, and you can develop and implement it into your own practice with great success. I hang out a lot in marketing circles. I've been interested and fascinated with marketing for many, many years. My dad's a marketer, so I kind of grew up around marketing all my life. And what I would say to you is this: when it comes to business, the ability to market is a key and fundamental skill that every business owner needs to develop. And we say here at Savvy Dentist that the best marketer always wins. So in this episode, we want to introduce you to some of the themes, some of the concepts, some of the ideas to take your marketing to a new level so that you can really do well with your business, because marketing is that first domino that needs to fall. We need to have patient flow before we can ever have cash flow. And patient flow is a function of marketing, right? So we talk about marketing in terms of patient acquisition, patient retention, patient reactivation. All those sorts of things are really important. So during this conversation, we're going to hear from a variety of different speakers around what it means to have smart marketing in your practice. We're going to be talking about Google ads that work. We're going to be talking about getting comfortable with social media. We're going to be talking about the role of personal branding to scale your practice. We're going to talk about the surprising power of having a purpose when it comes to your marketing as well, because people like to get behind a cause. People like to get behind a purpose. And all of these things, I think, will give you a new perspective on marketing, help you sharpen your marketing so that when you come back in the new year, after your Christmas holidays, after your New Year's break, you can really start thinking about your marketing in a more strategic way and implement some of the tactics and strategies that we share with you in this particular episode. So without any further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode around smart marketing for dental practices.
You got to think about, how am I going to differentiate myself?
So this is a really interesting point around differentiation for a moment, because one of my observations of dental practices is that if you look at their online presence, whether it's their website, their Google My Business page, or any other collateral, it all seems pretty same. There's a lot of vanilla, So I wanted to ask you, what is it that stops people from stepping out? Why do people conform to the straight line down the middle of the road? What is it that really prevents doctors, dentists, chiropractors potentially? I can't speak to other industries, but why are people so afraid to kind of show a little bit of personality?
If I had a one-size-fit-all answer for that, I would be a multi-millionaire. It's a tough question because we are so individualistic. But one thing that I think is important is surrounding yourself with the right people that will bring it out of you.
Yeah.
I have very particular questions and kind of ways that I dig into a client's persona to get them to open up so that I can understand some of these things that they like. So say your Instagram page, it doesn't just have to be, pictures of yellow teeth and then pictures of a nice white smile, or pictures of, crooked teeth and the work afterwards. Like, that really only does so much. What's amazing though is it's real easy to hop online and look at Google top 10 memes. And then you look at it and then you think of something funny about your business and you just use the same thing that it's already out there. You just have to twist it to you. Now, some of the fun questions I like asking, and these are, things that you're more than welcome to sit down with, the other people in your practice and actually think about some of this stuff. But is if you could be your online presence for your practice could be anyone online, who would it be? I had a great response the other day. This guy said, I would want to be Paul Rudd. And I was like, all right. Okay. I'm like, I like Paul Rudd. You want a little quirky? You want like cute, but not too cute? Kind of like, kind of balancing that quirky but likable line. Yeah, like that gives me something to do. I've had other people tell me, I want to be like The Rock online. I'm like, all right, cool. Like we can do some rock. Like let's play with this. But that's like one of those types of questions that really like kind of starts stretching your brain a bit. And I'll use our social media as an example for a lot of stuff. Like, I love a good Marvel movie. I mean, I got tickets to Spider-Man. I'll be there Friday afternoon. So, like, we'll post about Marvel. Yeah, we're a marketing company. Yeah, we're all about efficiency and things like this. But we also we're relatable. Like, if I'm talking to a dentist who also is like a big football fan. I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. I can talk football all day, like American football. Yeah. Sorry, let me clarify there. Or Marvel, or find those things that can make you relatable, and don't be afraid to put it out there, because no matter what, it can always be deleted. Say it doesn't go over well and you don't like it. The delete button's 2 seconds away. Yeah. But have fun with it.
Well, the thing I really like about what you're saying here, and this is, I think, something that I think some people overlook, and that is people do business with people. And, behind a company, behind a practice, behind a business, there's people. And it's nice to see who we're working with. If I'm going to go and see a dentist, or if I'm going to go and see a doctor, it's nice to know that there's a human being attached to the professional persona, and that human being has interests and quirks and other things as well. So I love the fact that you're into Marvel movies. I've got a friend of mine who's a podiatrist, and he's right into the whole superhero thing. And each of his treatment rooms was named after, the Green Lantern room or Captain America or whatever.
That's great.
And his office was called the Batcave. And so
perfect.
I think it's great. And his patients came into his practice and they loved it. And they'd say, yeah, can I go to the Green Lantern room today? I haven't been in that room yet. I was in Captain America last time, and I'd like to try the other one this time. And I think it's great.
Yeah. And it's not like this is an extremely cost prohibitive thing to do. Have a morning meeting with your team and talk to them, about what do you think we are as a practice? Like, come up with those cool buzzwords that you think like really, identify you. It's one of the big things that we talk about in my company a lot is selfless service. Like, we don't say no. My wife is in hospitality, high-end hospitality. She only works for like luxury hotels in New York City and now Los Angeles and things like that. And so one of the things her and I always had in common was really commitment to excellent customer service or client service or patient service is really like, what can I do? What anticipatory service can I provide that's going to knock their socks off? I mean, some of the stuff that she does is insane, like finding out what people's favorite candy bars are and having them on the mini bar and like finding out this and that. Wow. We can't quite go that far in the marketing world, but there is some stuff that maybe I'll see a post in the past that, one of my attorneys, I know that he worked with a particular charity. And so for his 1 year anniversary, we made a donation to the charity in his name, and just being like, hey, like, we just want to thank you for being a client.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. And so it's not like, we're not trying to, really, beat down people and say like, work with us. What we'd like to do is more like, hey, how can we partner? Like what are the commonalities that you and I have that's going to make this a great relationship? And I think forming that with patients, just like you're talking about with the superhero room, I mean, that's great. Like that's a real easy way to just build an emotional bond with someone, real quick.
Can you just run us through a couple of the key things that you think are really useful, really important, and provide the foundation for paid traffic, or successful paid traffic, that is?
Absolutely. And I'll talk specifically about Google Ads, because Facebook or Meta is an entirely different beast, and it's questionable whether it works very well in dental, whereas Google is tried, tested, proven. We know it works. It still works. So I'll just focus on that platform. Success with advertising online really hinges, I believe, on 3 main factors. The first is the targeting. Can you get in front of your ideal customer? The second is your offer or your creative. And the third is, your website. Does your website do its job of instilling trust and credibility, and for people to then take the next step? So in terms of Google Ads, there's no doubt if you know what you're doing and you know how to set it up correctly, you can get in front of your target customer. Someone goes to Google. What do they do when they're trying to find a dentist? They go to Google and they search for dentist, insert a suburb or insert a city, dentist near me, etc. So they still work. That is the way that people behave online still to this day. Yes, not everyone, but I would say the majority of people. And your job as an advertiser is to get in front of them at that moment, at that instant. I always used to say to people, you're effectively sliding your business card under the nose of someone at literally the instant that they are searching for your product or your service. So those fundamentals still work. You just need to have enough either education or the right help to set it up in such a way that you are only showing for those terms and not a whole lot of things that you don't want, which is a really, really common trap that people fall into. And you still, to this day, you still have that level of control. Google have not taken it away from us. I wouldn't be surprised if one day they do. Mm-hmm. But while we still have that control, we are maxing out on those type of strategies and capturing all that available traffic that there is. Because there is a finite amount of people who would be searching on Google for, dentist Canberra, because you can't make more people search for that term. So the idea is you want to be there for all those instances.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right. The audience is the audience, right? And so we've got to try and get in there as often as we can, as best we can. And as you say, I'm interested to talk about the creative and the offer and how that might be, I imagine, part of the changes that are coming through automation, AI, with creative potentially being done by others. If the three pillars and the three foundations have changed, where does automation and AI superimpose itself over the top of that, and what has changed in that technological aspect of advertising, in this instance on Google?
Okay, so one of the ways it has changed and actually improved, from my opinion, is from a bidding point of view. Yep. A number of years ago, Google launched their automated bid strategy. So in contrast to manually, selecting your bid and tweaking bids, Google leveraged a lot of the data points that they have on people to take the bidding away from advertisers. You can elect to do this. You don't have to. And you essentially say to Google, I want to get as many leads as possible, or I want to get leads at this level, bid differently for different people so I can achieve that goal. And so there's a number of the automated bid strategies, and I believe that's been a real improvement. Having said that, a mistake that people often fall into is that they implement these automated bid strategies straight away. And the problem with that is Google relies on good data to bid effectively. And if you don't have good data in your account, in that you haven't set up the tracking, or you haven't you've got a new account, they don't have the data points to go for, and so your bids can vary really wildly. And so you need to do it in a proper way to give it the best chance of success. So that is one way which Google has introduced AI, which, as I said, we get really good results with it. Okay. And often we don't even have to change anything from a traffic point of view, but suddenly when we graduate to these automated bid strategies, our conversion rate just increases. Oh, wow. Because Google is bidding more effectively. The way to explain it in sort of layman's terms, how it kind of works, but just get away from dental for an instance. Let's say I sell an e-commerce product, which is a kitchen product, okay? To be completely stereotypical, let's pretend that, as a female, I'd be more inclined to buy a kitchen product than you as a male, okay? Okay. It might be the opposite, but let's just pretend for argument's sake. Google knows my browsing history. They know what I likely click on and buy. The same for you. And so therefore, I then am doing a Google search for a kitchen product. They would bid more for me and less for you. Yeah. And therefore, you're not kind of, in theory, wasting your budget on treating everyone the same, essentially. So that's what these automated bid strategies is. They bid differently for different people, for people who are more likely to convert, and therefore you need data.
I think that's a really interesting point, isn't it? So it really is becoming quite personalised advertising strategies around that, and really targeted. I think letting yourself shine through is obviously key to marketing. And, I enjoy marketing as much as the next person, but I totally understand why some people might want to keep their private life private. I'm a dentist, I'm a professional, there's my professional life, and then there's my personal life. Can we just talk a little bit about the blurry edges of those? Because I think that some people might be thinking, my goodness me, does that mean I'm now taking photographs of every aspect of my life? Do I need to have a camera with me wherever I go? Where does that authenticity and that showing a bit of yourself begin and end? I have my own views about it, but sometimes I think there's a bit of oversharing that goes on, and sometimes others could perhaps share a bit more. So what's that nice happy medium?
Look, the happy medium, and it is an interesting question. The happy medium is what you're comfortable with sharing. And it's okay to set your own ground rules and own boundaries on that. I know I personally do. If you have a look at my social media feeds, you'll see a lot of stuff that I do around work, around volunteering, show image of my dog, those types of things. But, I'm really unlikely to be sharing pictures of my kids at a local park near my house, my children's schools, those types of things, because I want to keep all of that private. It's not, I'm not a person that is going to be posting a lot about my private life, and that is okay. And I guess, we have to look at things like social media as a bit of a filtered world that we know that it is. And, you look at Instagram, like they even create Instagram posts about the Instagram view and the behind the scenes view of what's going on. And we know that's a filtered world, but take advantage of that. Show the filter that you want to show and how you want to position yourself as the expert within your community. And, keep the stuff that you want to keep private. It is okay to do that. So I guess we're giving everybody permission here to share what they're comfortable sharing and keep the rest of the things private. But we want to show content that humanizes us, that helps people get to know us, particularly when we're in a service-based business. And you and your team are essentially the service providers. And when people can connect with you on that emotional level, they feel more comfortable going through that patient journey, and you'll get them to that conversion stage to booking appointment a lot quicker if you do give a little bit of your personality away. So I guess that is up to everybody to define themselves, but we're giving everybody permission to have the privacy that they want, but also just, give a little of some of the things that people can really relate to about you and your life as well.
I'm just coming back to authenticity versus the lens for a second. And I've noticed that some people on social media use the word authenticity as a bit of an excuse, shall we say, to show perhaps an element or a side of their personality. There's a bit of a kind of take it or leave it, I'm authentic and, stick it up your jumper kind of routine. Where does, again, good authenticity start? And where does it kind of blur into like, oh, geez, getting a bit on the cringy side?
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make. And, a lot of people do kind of take the alternate view as a stance, and they're creating a groundswell and conversation and, backlash and all of that kind of stuff. As healthcare professionals, it's really unlikely that we need to go to that place on social media. So I would kind of advise people to steer away from being insensitive to public sentiment. I think just kind of read the room, and if it's not something that you would say out loud to people that you respect at a party or those types of things, it really shouldn't be said on social media or through your marketing as well. But in terms of, being authentic, what I'd like to really highlight, because a lot of people really struggle with, well, you've told me I need to create videos for social media and all of those types of things, but I don't know what to say. Being authentic actually comes back to, from a marketing perspective and an effective marketing standpoint, if you're authentically providing your patients with value, and when I talk about value, you are solving their pain points. The reality is that nobody really cares too much about you. They don't care what you look like. They don't care about your world. All people really care about is how can you help them? So in essence, we are fairly kind of selfishly minded people. Our radars when we're scrolling through things like social media are looking for ways to bring our own problems to light and to try and find resolutions to those. So, for example, if you're a dentist that treats a lot of children, for example, and you are talking authentically about perhaps your own experiences with some of the things that you've done with how to wrangle a 2-year-old toddler to get them to brush their teeth, you're talking to your target audience's pain points. And when you do that, you are really getting a lot of cut through when it comes to marketing. The person who's on the receiving end of that communication feels heard. They feel like you understand them, and they won't feel like apprehensive about coming and bringing their potentially disruptive 2-year-old toddler to come and see you, at the dentist. So it's humanizing you, it's being authentic, but it's also just solving the problems of your patients. Jessie, I'm sure you get asked this question a lot as well. A lot of people ask me, what is the kind of magic thing, that one thing when it comes to marketing that is really going to get cut through?
What's the one magic button I can push to make it rain new patients on me? You mean that one?
That one, yes.
That one, yeah. Oh, God, yes. 100 times over every week.
It's not necessarily, getting Facebook ads right, or getting, blogging on your website, or getting #1 ranked on Google and all of those types of things. I mean, all of those things help. But really, when you can frame your marketing in a way that you are authentically helping your patients, educating them, solving their problems and pain points, if you can get that communication message across every single communication channel you've got available to you, including, emails and those types of things, that is really the secret to good marketing.
I wanted to talk a little bit about personal brand, so that we're explaining what personal branding is and that human connection piece, because I think dentistry is a very human-centric business. We operate in one of the most intimate parts of the body. So that human connection piece, I think, is really important in our marketing. And so I wanted, before we kind of get into tactics or strategy and then tactics, can we have a quick conversation about what you mean by human connection through marketing and building a personal brand? And again, you've got your book out called Marketing Me, so maybe we can just have a quick dip into that as well.
Yeah, so the high-level premise of the book, and also the answer to your question, is that people are not really interested in connecting with logos and brands and entities in and of themselves, but they are open to connecting with people. And all of your practice owners and listers would know that there's been so much change and rapid acceleration in the marketing and the content and the social media and the information, the proliferation of information and marketing coming at us as humans over many years. And that's a trend that was, ramping up over the last decade or two, but really accelerated during the pandemic and post-pandemic, when everybody got online and everybody realized they needed to be promoting. But at the same time, people's mental capacity to receive information and process information has quite quickly and greatly diminished, to the point where they are screening out a lot of non-essential, anything that they don't deem as necessary, relevant, fun, helpful for them in that moment. And so the challenge for businesses is, how do you stand out? How do you get cut through when people aren't interested in another brochure or website or marketing email or product and feature and things like that? And the answer is that people are curious and love to know about people and what makes them tick and what makes them different and what makes them unique. And there's something in that when we can very strategically but enjoyably tap into from a marketing perspective, can turn marketing in from a chore and a job and a thing that we're trying to do to promote something, into just being an expression of us, an expression of our business, which is very natural and organic. And people gravitate to that far more and actually like that and enjoy that and feel proud and, leave that engagement, whether it's online or offline, with some sort of, positive feeling rather than negative one. the opportunity there today is to explore what does that mean for a dental practice? How would that apply to the world of dentistry when, on the one hand, yes, you've got that face-to-face contact with the human when they're in your chair, but then outside of that, you've got the challenge of business development, generating referrals. How are they coming back to you? Are they coming back to you? Are they recommending you to other people? And also, are you getting new business from the community? And are you getting the type of business that you would like from the community as well? And I think that's a really big one as well. There's business, and then there's the right fit business as well. And so, these are all questions that are answered under the topic of branding. And when we talk about injecting the human into the branding, then it becomes people branding or personal branding, where the brand is connected to the individual, but there's always a context. And that's probably where I'd also like to just explain a little like disclaimer, caveat, comforting note, let's say to any business, that personal branding is really around you bringing the human and the person into the branding, but it's not instead of the business in this context. And doesn't mean you're promoting your people but not yourself and not the business. It's really about helping people get seen, recognised and valued for the impact of the work that they do, which in this context happens to be in your practice. And if you can develop a system and a safety and a framework and a supportive environment where you can encourage people to explore and embrace and then express what makes them different as a practitioner and why they work for you and why they're a good fit and why the impact of the work that they're having and showcase the impact of the work that they're having in your practice, well, that has a win-win because they feel valued as a team member and are likely to perform better, stay longer and have more of the right type of customers. And your practice benefits as well because you're seen as the hub that attracts these great people, and what they are building is done in context to the work that's carried out at your practice and the positive impact that your practice is having on people's lives as well. So I'd love to explore that one a little bit because there is definitely an intersection point between the two, and that's really the holy grail of marketing in the current, state of play that we're in at the moment.
All of us, I'm going to put two hands in the air here and say, have been distracted by shiny objects in the past. But it's really interesting you say that coming back to that central path, the path that is purpose-focused, purpose-driven, actually accelerates your progress because you're not wasting energy, you're not chasing the shiny rabbits. I remember at the beginning of there's a book called The One Thing, and at the beginning of the book there's a Russian proverb. I think it is, the man who chases two rabbits catches neither, or something like that, right? Similar to the two asses comment, really. But it is an accelerant if you can be focused on that one path. And what I'm really liking about the purpose part of that is it's a filter. Like it allows you to examine, do I do this, do I not do that? Is that reasonable to use purpose as a filter?
Yeah, look, it is, but the values that underpin your purpose are actually very good at guiding and telling you what's right and wrong.
Yep.
Because if you go, look, this is our purpose and it's to do this, and this is our mission, and look, and visions and all that sort of stuff, you don't actually need all of them, right? You can just stick with one, and that's purpose, and that's great, right? It really simplifies things. But if you want to, you can go through all of them. But then it's the values that actually keep you on track.
Yeah.
Because when you go, shiny thing, I want to do that. You look at your values and you go, well, does it align with any of those values? No. Okay, done.
Yeah.
So anytime I wanted to veer off course, I use the 9-box grid, the proactive 9-box grid.
Yeah.
Right. And I go, right, well, what's the purpose of this particular marketing campaign? What's the research I've done? Opportunity? What's the audience? What's the content? Where do I turn it on and distribute? How much am I going to invest in it? So that's Ignite. V for verification, E for evolve. Yeah. Right. As I start that 9-box grid, it's like 9 times out of 10. Purpose, blah, blah, blah. Research, none. Right? One person.
Yeah, okay. N equals 1. Yeah, righto.
Yeah. My sample size is way too small to justify any reason to go forth on that marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Boom, forget it, move on, right?
Yeah, nice.
Kills the idea, stops me from wasting time thinking about it, gets me back on track, off I go again.
So can you just run through the proactive methodology and could you just spell it out? So P is for purpose, R is for research.
Yes.
O was for opportunity.
P for purpose, R for research.
Yep.
O for opportunity.
Yep.
A for audience.
Yep.
C for content.
Yep.
T, turn it on.
Yep.
I, ignite. V, verify and validate.
Yep.
E, evolve.
Nice. Love that.
So, you know what? Sometimes when you do the 9-box grid and you have this big grand idea, it starts with E. Oh, I'm going to be on telly. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be, living it up in the penthouse at Kira.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, right? I'm going to be working from the top floor in a Sydney, high rise or whatever it is. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be leather couches everywhere, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's the evolve piece. That's the end goal. Let's work it back. How are we going to get there? Guess what? the research piece, again, dead in the water. Okay, get back on track. Stop dreaming. Go get back to work.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode from the summer series. I hope you took some great notes, but most importantly, I hope you apply what you learned as a result of listening to the guests on the show. Now, if you want to set up your next 12 months to be the most successful ever, then I'm going to encourage you to think about putting a strategic plan in place. No matter what your definition of success is, it's going to be important that you have a plan. So whether you want to increase your revenue, whether you want to enhance your profitability, whether you want to have more free time for better work-life balance, maybe you want to have fuller appointment books with better marketing, or maybe it's about having your team perform at a higher level than ever before so that your experiences for your patients are better, you're able to delegate more effectively. Whatever it is for you, having the right plan in place is going to be really critical. One of the things that we know at Savvy is that the stages of growth of a business are absolutely predictable. And what that means is that the challenges encountered at any particular level of growth are really predictable, as are the solutions. We've worked with literally hundreds, if not thousands of practices over the years, and we've been able to help them achieve their business goals, their personal goals, and everything in between. But it all starts with having the right plan in place. One of the skills that we've developed is the ability to identify very clearly what the right next thing is to focus on. And so as you embark on the next 12 months, it's going to be really important that you identify what the right next thing is for you. Yeah, and that's going to depend on where you are now and what your goals and ambitions are as well. And once you've identified what the right next thing or things are, it's important to identify, well, what are the potential obstacles? What are the things that could derail us? And then, of course, have a mitigation plan around that so that as you progress through the year, you can make that progress, hit those goals, achieve the milestones that are important to you. And as I said, make sure that this 12 months is the most successful ever. Now, if you would like a hand putting that plan together, could I encourage you to book a practice growth call to one of our team? All you need to do is head across to savvydentist.com/growth call. One of our team will reach out to you and book that time. Now, during that call, they're going to be asking some questions about what's the current state of play in your practice, what your goals and ambitions are for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and so on, so that they can align your thinking, align your resources to achieving not just the 1 year goals, but the 3 year, the 5 year, and the 10 year goals as well, so that you're setting yourself up for a fantastic future. As I said, whether it's around revenue growth, profit growth, leverage for greater free time, whatever it might be for you, that's really, really important, because ultimately what we want to create is a practice and a life that you love. And getting that right plan in place is a really critical and essential first step for that. So all you need to do is head across to savvydentist.com/growth call and book that time. And we look forward to talking to you very, very shortly. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Dentist podcast. For more episodes, go to drjessiegreen.com/savvydentist. And to discover how to build a high-performance dental practice, visit drjessiegreen.com and download the free report.